Before we begin this unforgettable story, I have a simple request for you. Tell me where you're watching from, in the comments below, your city, your country. Let us connect as one global family. And if you love deep, emotional stories that teach powerful life lessons, make sure you subscribe and join us for more. Now, let me take you into a world where love is tested, not by obstacles from the outside, but by fear from within. In the vibrant city of Lagos, where dreams rise as tall as the towers of Victoria Island, and fortunes change as fast as the tides against Echo Atlantic, lived a man who seemed to have everything life could offer. Chijioke Coleman, a billionaire real estate mogul respected by leaders, envied by rivals, and adored by the world. But behind closed doors, behind the glittering gates of his Lekki mansion, his heart was full of doubts and shadows. He had married a woman whose smile could melt even the coldest soul, Amara Adeyemi. She was kind, gentle, and loved him with a sincerity no money could buy. But the richer he became, the louder the voice of fear whispered in his mind. What if she only loves the life you provide, not the man you are? It's a dangerous thing, not to trust the hand that wipes your tears. So, Chijioke planned something no husband should ever think of. A test, a cruel test, to see if Amara would stay when everything he gave her was stripped away. But life has a way of turning our foolishness into a lesson we will never forget. This is the story of a man who tested love and almost destroyed it. A story that reminds us, love cannot be proven with games. Trust cannot grow in the soil of fear. And the heart you break today may be the heart you need tomorrow. As you listen, ask yourself, do you trust love, or do you fear losing it so much that you might push it away? Stay with me, because what is about to unfold is a journey of heartbreak, repentance, and grace, a journey that will show us that sometimes we must be broken before we truly learn how to love. Lagos, a city that never sleeps, where the streetlights of Victoria Island shine like scattered diamonds on black water, where dreams rise faster than traffic on Third Mainland Bridge and fall just as quickly. Inside a magnificent white mansion in Lekki Phase 1, surrounded by high gates and well-polished luxury cars, lived a man who had everything except peace of mind. Chijioke Coleman, age 37, handsome, powerful, respected, a billionaire real estate tycoon known from Ikoyi high society dinners to Banana Island boardrooms. A man whose signature could change skylines, whose wealth could solve any problem, except the fear inside his heart. Every morning, reporters celebrated his success. Every evening, he ate at a table that could seat 14, but only 2 ever sat there. His wife, Amara, was a stunning woman in her late 20s. Not stunning because of makeup or jewelry, but because of the purity in her smile, the kindness in her eyes, and the humility with which she carried herself, even in wealth. She grew up in Surulere, raised by a single mother who sold fabrics in the market. Her life was simple, until love found her at an unexpected time. She met Chijioke in a hospital cafeteria, long before she knew his name or power. She offered him her seat when the place was crowded, not because she wanted anything, but because kindness was her nature. In that moment, he saw in her the gentleness his world was missing. They dated quickly. Love is impatient sometimes, and married in the biggest wedding Lagos had seen that year. Cameras flashed, choirs sang, and luxury poured from every corner of the celebration. Everyone said, Amara is blessed. She married wealth. Nobody said, Chijioke is blessed. He married love. But as the days turned into months, something poisonous began to grow inside him. Doubt. Money brings comfort, but it can also bring confusion. Sometimes he watched her on the balcony as she watered the flowers, her laughter floating into the midday sun. He would think, would she laugh like that if I were poor? When she fixed his tie before business meetings, whispering, You'll do great. He wondered, is she proud of me, or proud of what I own? When she hugged him from behind and laid her head on his shoulder, he asked himself, does she love this man or this mansion? Night after night, these questions tightened inside him like a noose. He tried to hide it, but insecurity is like a leaking faucet. The longer it drips, the more destruction it causes. One night, Amara found him awake at 2 a.m., staring into the dark. My love, are you okay? She asked softly, touching his arm. He pulled away, not because he didn't love her, but because fear told him not to trust what he loved. He forced a smile. I'm fine, Amara. Go back to sleep. She didn't believe him, a wife always knows. But she didn't push. She wrapped her arms around him again and whispered, I'm here, always. Her voice was a blanket for his soul, but his mind would not stop racing. That night, after she slept, Chijioke stood at their window, watching the rain drizzle over Lekki. He whispered into the empty air, if her love is real, then she will stay with me through anything. And in that dangerous moment, an idea was born. A test he believed would reveal the truth. A test he believed would finally give him peace. He did not realize a man who tests love may lose it. A heart doubted too long may break. A home without trust is already shaking. But fear told him something different. Better to know now than to be betrayed later. So instead of strengthening his marriage, he began planning its destruction. And the saddest part? He did it all because he loved her more than his own sanity. Morning light spilled gently through the luxurious master bedroom in Lekki Phase 1. But nothing about this day felt peaceful inside Chijioke's heart. He sat at the edge of the bed, still wearing yesterday's thoughts like a heavy cloak. Amara was still asleep, innocent, unaware, her hand resting softly where his should have been. He pulled away again. Love was right beside him, yet fear made it feel miles away. In the dining room, the long glass table reflected his troubled expression. The breakfast spread was untouched. Golden toast, fresh papaya slices, a pot of steaming coffee, everything perfect except him. His driver, Emmanuel, entered with a polite bow. Good morning, sir, he greeted, noticing his boss's restless energy. Do not take the car out today, Chijioke replied curtly. Yes, sir. Any special plans? Chijioke paused. His pulse quickened. The thought forming in his mind was as reckless as it was clear. Yes, he said. Call Dr. Kalu. I want a private meeting. Tonight. Emmanuel's brow twitched with concern. He had served this family for 9 years, long enough to sense when something dangerous was coming. But he nodded anyway. Right away, sir. That night, the atmosphere in Chijioke's pristine Victoria Island office was tense. The city glittered outside the windows, but inside, the air felt like storm clouds gathering. Emmanuel stood near the door, uncomfortable, shifting his weight nervously. Dr. Kalu sat opposite Chijioke, trying to read the seriousness in his eyes. "You both know that I trust you," Chijioke began, fingers tapping anxiously on the glass desk. "And I need your help with something deeply personal." Dr. Kalu leaned forward. "What's troubling you, Chijioke?" He swallowed hard. "I need to know if my wife loves me for real." Silence. "What do you mean?" the doctor asked slowly. Chijioke took a breath deep, trembling. "I want to stage a car accident," he said, "and pretend I am paralyzed from the waist down." Emmanuel's eyes widened. "Sir, no, that's dangerous." His voice broke with loyalty and fear. Dr. Kalu stared, stunned. "You're asking me to falsify medical reports? To lie to Amara? Chijioke, this is not a prank. This is your marriage we are talking about. That is why I must know the truth," Chijioke insisted, voice shaking but stubborn. "Money can buy loyalty, but can money buy love? I must see if she stays when I can't give her the life she enjoys." The two men exchanged uneasy glances. Chijioke pressed on. "Emmanuel, you will be driving. At the sharp bend near Echo Atlantic Road, you will make the accident look real, but controlled." "And if something goes wrong?" Emmanuel asked, voice barely a whisper. "There is no room for mistake," Chijioke replied, more to himself than them. Dr. Kalu spoke gently. "Chijioke, love is not a business deal. There are no contracts in the heart. You cannot test love with suffering." But the billionaire shook his head, fear burning stronger than reason. "When love comes with luxury, how do you know if it is real?" His voice cracked. "I cannot sleep with this doubt anymore." Dr. Kalu stood. "If I agree, it's only because I hope you will see what you already have," he said. "Amara loves you, but this lie, it may break her." Chijioke nodded, but his eyes remained clouded. Emmanuel's voice trembled. "And what happens after the test?" "When I am sure of her love," Chijioke answered, "I will tell her the truth. We will laugh about it, and we will move forward, stronger." But deep down, even he wasn't convinced those words could ever come true. Later that night, as he returned to Lekki Mansion, he found Amara in the living room, folding blankets and singing softly to herself. Pure, beautiful, unaware of the storm he was creating. She looked up, smiling with warmth that money can't fake. "You're home," she said gently. "I kept dinner warm for you." His heart twisted. For a brief moment, he almost confessed everything. Almost dropped to his knees and told her his fears. Almost asked for the reassurance he desperately needed. But fear can silence honesty like a knife to the throat. He kissed her forehead and whispered, "I love you." She smiled, touching his cheek. "And I love you more." He turned away so she wouldn't see the tears he couldn't control. Because in 2 days, he would break the heart that loved him the most. The soft hum of the evening breeze rolled over Echo Atlantic Road, brushing against the coastline as the moon traced silver lines over the crashing waves. Lagos was quieter here, away from the honking horns and chaotic rhythm of the mainland, a place where secrets could hide in the dark without being noticed. Tonight, one man's fear was about to become a weapon. Chijioke sat stiffly in the back seat of his black SUV, heart pounding like a war drum. Emmanuel, his driver, gripped the steering wheel tightly. His hands were sweating, not from the heat, but from the heaviness of the sin he was about to commit. Are you sure we must do this? Emmanuel asked again, voice cracking. It's too late to turn back, Chijioke replied, though doubt twisted in his stomach like a knot tightening. His phone vibrated a message from Amara. My love, please come home safe. Dinner is waiting. I miss you. The words stabbed him. She loved him completely, and tonight he was preparing to tear her heart apart. He typed with trembling fingers, I'll be home a bit late. I love you. He stared at that last sentence. Would she still believe those words tomorrow? Minutes later, the roar of sirens from afar signaled Dr. Kalu was near. Everything was ready, except the one thing that mattered most, Chijioke's conscience. He took a deep breath. I told you exactly how to drive, he said firmly. Emmanuel nodded uneasily, glancing at the sharp bend ahead. The car picked up a little speed, headlights cutting through the foggy stretch of road. Chijioke braced himself. 3, 2, 1. Emmanuel jerked the steering wheel violently. The SUV swerved. The tires screeched. Metal slammed against concrete barriers. Glass shattered. The force threw Chijioke sideways. For a moment, there was only silence. Then pain. Not physical, but emotional torture. Emmanuel scrambled out of the car, pretending panic as planned. But some of the fear in his voice was real when he shouted, Help! Somebody help! Olga can't move. Please! Blue and red lights flashed through the night as Dr. Kalu arrived in a hospital ambulance. He rushed toward the wreck. Chijioke kept perfectly still, fighting the urge to move, to sit up, to end the lie right here before it was too late. Nobody must know this is fake, Dr. Kalu whispered urgently as they secured him to a stretcher. From now on, this is your reality. Chijioke nodded slightly, agreeing to a prison he built himself. At St. Gregory Private Hospital, word reached Amara faster than expected. Her screams filled the hallway as she ran barefoot, having left home in a panic. She burst into the room where her husband lay motionless, tubes in his arms, bandages around his neck. Chijioke, my baby, please talk to me, she cried, grabbing his cold hand. Slowly, he opened his eyes, acting the part of a broken man. Amara, he whispered painfully. Her body collapsed partly over his, trembling with fear, and love fused into one. What happened? Why can't you move? She asked, begging for hope. Dr. Kalu cleared his throat. We suspect paralysis from spinal trauma. He may never walk again. The words stabbed Amara like 1,000 blades. She turned to her husband, tears pouring like rain. No, we will fix this, she sobbed. I will be here, every single day. You're not alone. Her love, raw, pure, unwavering, filled the room. A love that deserved trust, not tests, not lies, but instead of relief, guilt surged through Chijioke like poison. Here she was proving everything he doubted. Yet he had trapped her in a nightmare to get it. That night, after she finally cried herself to sleep in the chair beside his bed, Chijioke stared at the ceiling, drowning in regret. He wanted to tell her everything, to beg for forgiveness, to rip off the mask before the deception destroyed them both. But fear whispered, not yet. Watch longer. Test her more. He believed he needed certainty. He didn't realize love had already passed the test long before the accident. And now, the real danger wasn't whether she loved him. It was whether she could survive the pain his lie was now causing. The first morning after the accident was the hardest dawn Amara had ever faced. The sterile smell of the hospital room clung to the air, thick with fear and exhaustion. The machines beeped rhythmically beside Chijioke, each beep reminding her that the man she loved was now trapped in a body that refused to respond. Amara barely slept. Every time her eyes fluttered closed, she woke up with a gasp, terrified that if she rested, he might slip away. She held his hand, as if her grip alone could anchor his soul to this world. When the nurses came to check him, she refused to step aside. "Let me help," she insisted. And she did, learning how to adjust his pillow, how to dab the sweat from his forehead, how to soften her voice so it wrapped around his wounds like a warm embrace. Chijioke watched all of it, but still did not believe he deserved such love. Later that afternoon, Dr. Kalu called Amara aside. His voice was calm, too calm for the gravity of his words. "Mrs. Coleman, please prepare yourself. Your husband's recovery will not be easy. The paralysis may be permanent." Amara's hands shook as she held onto the wall for balance, but her voice did not break. "If we must push the wheelchair, we will push it together," she whispered. No hesitation, no wavering. Dr. Kalu studied her silently, guilt tightening in his chest. This woman deserved the truth, but he was trapped too, caught in the storm of another man's insecurity. "Thank you, doctor," she said, bowing slightly with dignity. Her tears fell later, not because she was losing the life she knew, but because she feared Chijioke might lose himself. When Chijioke woke, he saw her standing at his bedside, hair slightly messy, eyes red, yet still shining with love. "You're still here?" he whispered, voice raspy. She gave a tired smile, brushing his cheek gently. "Where else would I be?" Her faithfulness struck him like lightning. He wanted to scream, "You passed. It was just a test. Forgive me." But lies, once spoken, grow into chains. So instead, he stayed silent and nodded. Amara lifted spoonfuls of soup to his mouth, her hands shaking lightly. She wiped the corners of his lips, whispering, "You're strong. You'll walk again. I know it." He looked at her, and for a moment, the fear inside him loosened. When night arrived, Amara spread a blanket on the wide chair beside the bed. She tried to rest, but every few minutes, she rose to adjust his blanket, smooth his pillow, check his breathing. Her love was loud, even in silence. Sometime past midnight, Chijioke whispered her name. "Amara?" She sat up instantly. "Yes, my love. I can't be the man you married," he said, voice trembling with the pain of the lie he was living. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead gently against his. "You are the man I married," she replied. "Your legs don't define your strength. Your heart does." Her words shattered him. She was loving him more deeply than ever, while he loved her with suspicion and fear. In the quiet hours before dawn, she slipped out to the hallway to breathe and wipe her tears privately. She didn't want him to see her breaking. Her pain didn't matter, only his did. Emmanuel was there too, waiting, silent, burdened. He struggled to meet her eyes. "Madam, you should rest," he whispered. She shook her head. "He needs me." Her voice was cracked, but her loyalty was unbroken. Emmanuel nodded, swallowing guilt like a bitter pill. As she walked back into the room, Emmanuel whispered to himself, "She loves him. God, she truly loves him." Yet Chijioke, the man she loved without condition, lay inside, doubting the very thing she was sacrificing everything to prove. and the tragedy quietly deepened. The test, that was meant to reassure him, was slowly destroying the greatest gift he had ever been given. Eyes turned into weeks at St. Gregory Private Hospital, and still Amara would not leave Chijioke's side. She fed him, she bathed him, she lifted him with careful arms that trembled from exhaustion, but never from fear. She stared at his legs each day, willing them to move again, praying silently that God would return strength to the man who was losing his spirit. But she did not know. It wasn't his legs that were broken. It was the foundation of trust beneath their marriage. The doctors finally decided Chijioke was stable enough to go home. An ambulance was arranged. A wheelchair was prepared. A new life full of challenges awaited them. When they rolled Chijioke through the golden gates of their Lekki mansion, Amara forced a hopeful smile. "We will make this house a home again," she promised. But the living room felt colder. The walls felt tighter. The air carried the scent of worry. Amara began managing the household while caring for him every second of the day. She refused assistance from nurses at first, believing she should be the one to give him strength. She giggled sometimes, just to lift his mood. She cried sometimes, but only when he closed his eyes. Still, Chijioke remained silent, watching her, analyzing every gesture, waiting for love to fail. He did not realize she was fighting a quiet battle, not just against exhaustion, but against loneliness. One afternoon, when rain tapped against the wide windows, the doorbell rang. Emmanuel shuffled to answer it, while Amara helped Chijioke adjust his wheelchair. Then she heard a familiar voice, a male voice, confident, smooth, too comfortable. "Amara, I came as soon as I heard." She turned, eyes widening. There stood Ifeanyi Bello, tall, charming, wealthy in his own right. A man from her past. A man whose interest had always lingered behind playful smiles. "Oh, Ifeanyi," she breathed, unsure whether to feel relief or discomfort. He stepped closer, offering flowers. "For you," he said. "You must be going through hell. I'm so sorry." Chijioke's jaw tightened. Emmanuel looked away, guilt washing over him. He was part of the lie that opened this door for temptation. Amara accepted the flowers politely, unsure where to place them, unsure how to react. "How is he? Will he recover?" Ifeanyi asked, but his eyes were studying her, not Chijioke. She straightened her shoulders. "He will. We are trusting God." Her answer was firm, her loyalty unwavering. But Ifeanyi was a man who saw opportunity in vulnerability. Over the next few days, Ifeanyi returned again and again, sometimes bringing fruits, sometimes laughter, but always bringing a shadow that crawled into the corners of the house. Each time he came, Chijioke watched Amara closely. Did her smile widen? Did her voice soften? Did she look at him longer than necessary? Jealousy, once small, became a raging monster. Amara, unaware of the silent storm building behind her, thought she was doing the polite thing. Ifeanyi was a family friend. He was checking on them. She didn't see the hunger in his eyes. But Chijioke did. One evening, after a tense visit, Amara went to make tea in the kitchen. Chijioke waited until she was out of earshot. He turned sharply to Emmanuel. "You let him into my home again," Chijioke hissed. "Why?" Emmanuel swallowed hard. "Sir, he seems concerned. Maybe it lifts Madame's spirits." Chijioke glared, anger cracking through his voice. I do not need another man comforting my wife. But maybe she needs to feel she has people to lean on, Emmanuel answered carefully, not in defiance, but in fear for both of them. Chijioke's heart twisted painfully. Love made him selfish. Fear made him cruel. That night, when Amara helped him into bed, he asked the question that had been burning his tongue. Do you enjoy his visits? Her eyes widened in confusion. He's just trying to help, she replied gently. People care about you, Chijioke. No, he whispered. They care about you. Amara knelt beside his wheelchair, holding his trembling hands. I chose you, she said firmly. There is no one else. Her words were true. Her heart was his. But he could not silence the voice in his mind screaming, what if she will one day realize she deserves more than a broken man? Later that night, she cried again silently in the bathroom. Her tears were not because she wanted to leave, but because she feared she might not be enough to hold him together. And outside the door, Chijioke listened. It hurt him more than paralysis ever could. He had set a trap for love, and now, little by little, love was bleeding inside it. The rainstorm had passed, but inside the mansion, the thunder remained. Chijioke's doubts now grew faster than his heartbeat. Every word Ifeanyi spoke, every glance he stole at Amara, was like salt rubbed into a wound that never should have existed. Yet the real pain was seeing how exhaustion slowly dimmed the light in Amara's eyes. Her days now followed a draining routine. Morning, lift him from bed, bathe him, feed him, dress him. Afternoon, cook, clean, push his wheelchair, pretend she's not dying inside. Night, smile, comfort, cry silently while he sleeps beside her suffering. She no longer went to the gym with her friends. No brunch dates, no makeup, no social posts, no self. She shrunk her world until he was the center of it. But even a loving heart can break from overload. One day, after helping him into his chair, her grip slipped for just a second. Chijioke's head knocked slightly against the leather headrest. A tiny accident, a human mistake, but guilt flooded her instantly. Oh God, I'm so sorry, she cried, hands trembling as she checked his forehead. I didn't mean, it's fine, he whispered, though a part of him wanted to believe it wasn't a mistake, but a sign she was getting tired of him. She stepped back, breath shaky. Eyes filled with silent frustration she fought to bury. Chijioke noticed, and fear fed on it. That afternoon, Ifeanyi arrived again, with his smile polished and intentions sharpened. This time, he insisted Amara take a break. You need fresh air, he said gently. Let me drive you to get groceries. I know a place with everything you'll need. Just 1 hour. Amara hesitated. She glanced at Chijioke, confused and seeking direction. His heart twisted. He wanted to say, no, she's mine. Stay here. But jealousy disguised itself as manipulation. So instead he forced a weak smile. Yes, go. You deserve a break, he said calmly, though his insides burned. His lie didn't end with paralysis. It infected every decision he made now. Amara stepped out with reluctant steps, glancing back one more time. Will you be okay? I'll be fine, he whispered, and watched the door close behind her. Silence devoured the room. Chijioke sat there, furious at himself for letting her go, furious that he even needed to feel afraid. Emmanuel entered quietly with evening tea. She only went to the store he said softly, reading the fear on his boss's face. Chijioke clenched his jaw. She shouldn't have to go with him. Then tell her, Emmanuel replied gently. Tell her what you feel. But how do you confess you are breaking the heart you fear losing? 2 hours passed, then 3, then 4. Every minute was fire spreading through Chijioke's chest. Finally, headlights flashed outside. Amara rushed in with hurried steps and a distressed expression. She went straight to him, kneeling, gripping his hands tightly. I'm so sorry I took so long, she rushed. Ifeanyi stopped to buy something without telling me. I was scared you'd be worried. Chijioke exhaled a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't glowing in Ifeanyi's presence. She looked guilty, overwhelmed, and desperate to be near him again. That should have reassured him. But insecurity didn't want peace. He looked into her exhausted eyes and whispered, You didn't have to come back. Her face fell. What do you mean? She asked, voice fragile. You looked happy to be away. Shock, hurt, a quiet heartbreak. Her lips trembled as she tried to speak, but the words drowned under tears she refused to shed in front of him. She stood up slowly, turned her face away, and whispered, I left my whole world here. Where else could I ever want to be? Then she walked into the bedroom, closing the door gently, but the sound was loud enough to echo through both their hearts. That night, as she cried, silently, into a pillow to keep him from hearing, Chijioke stared up at the ceiling again. Only now, his fear had changed. Before, he feared that love was fake. Now, he feared the lie would make real love disappear. He had proven she loved him, but he had not proven he deserved her. Morning sunlight poured gently into the living room of the Lecky mansion, but nothing about the day felt bright. The night before had revealed too much pain, fear, insecurity, sacrifice, and silent tears. Amara woke early, wiping away the puffiness beneath her eyes before stepping out of the bedroom. She would not let him see how much she was breaking. She would be strength. She had to be strength. She prepared breakfast eggs and tea, just like he liked. She placed the tray in front of him and forced a small smile. Good morning, she whispered. Chijioke studied her closely, searching for signs that her heart was shifting away from him. He hated that he was looking for failure instead of appreciating her devotion. But insecurity is a prison that convinces you the door is locked, even when someone stands holding it open for you. He tried to speak, but the words came out sharp, without meaning to. You don't have to force yourself to be here. Amara froze mid-motion. Force? Hadn't she lost sleep? Lost peace? Lost herself? All to keep him afloat. Her chest tightened. I want to be here, she breathed, pain behind every syllable. She turned away, unsure if she could hold her emotions together. And that's when the doorbell rang. Ifeanyi, again. Emmanuel opened, and Ifeanyi walked in with a bright bouquet and a confidence that made the air colder instantly. Amara's eyes widened. You shouldn't have come today. But Ifeanyi ignored her discomfort and walked closer, placing the flowers on the table. I came to check on you, he said smoothly. Then he knelt slightly, eyes locked on hers, and lowered his voice so only she would hear. You deserve someone who carries your burden, not someone who is the burden. Those words hit her like a blow. Before she could respond, Chijioke wheeled forward, anger locked behind his calm face. "What did you just say?" he asked quietly. "Oh," Ifeanyi smirked, standing. "I only said she deserves better than—" A loud slap sliced through the room. Amara's hand against Ifeanyi's cheek. The sound echoed like thunder. Her voice shook with fury. "Don't you ever disrespect my husband. You have no idea what love is." Ifeanyi stared at her shocked. This was not the reaction he expected. He tried again, reaching toward her arm, voice dripping with fake concern. "Amara, you're tired. You're hurting." "He can't." "No," she snapped, stepping back. "You think weakness makes love disappear? No. Weakness is what reveals who truly loves." Her tears finally spilled, not from sadness this time, but from the overwhelming strength of a heart that refused to betray. "I married a man, not his legs. My vows were not to his status, but to his soul." Silence took over the house. Even the walls seemed to listen. Ifeanyi's ego cracked. Anger replaced his arrogance. "You'll regret this," he muttered darkly. "A woman like you deserves more." "I deserve exactly who I chose," she replied, voice trembling but steady. She pointed to the door. "Leave, and do not come back." After he stormed out, Amara wiped her tears and turned to face Chijioke. Her body shook from the confrontation, but her eyes were fierce with truth. "Do you see now?" she cried softly. "Do you still think I'm here because of money? Because of cars? Because of this house?" Chijioke felt his heart collapse inside him. All this time, he had been waiting for proof, but love had been proving itself long before the test even began. He reached for her hand, a fragile attempt at connection, but she stepped back. Her voice softened into heartbreak. "I am fighting for us, Chijioke, but I'm not sure how long my heart can survive this war." He wanted to speak, to reveal the truth, to ask for forgiveness, but the weight of his own decision crushed his courage. He remained silent, and silence is the most dangerous answer a heart in pain can receive. Amara walked away, her shoulders shaking, not with weakness, but with the exhaustion of loving someone who refused to believe that love was real. And Chijioke realized something terrifying. She wasn't tired of caring for his body. She was tired of fighting for a place inside his heart. He had tested love, but now love was testing him back. The house was too quiet, too tight, like every wall was holding its breath. After driving Ifeanyi out, Amara locked herself in the bathroom, but not to cry, to gather the pieces of her spirit before they crumbled completely. She stared at her reflection, eyes swollen, lips trembling, hands gripping the counter. "Why does love have to hurt like this?" she whispered. She loved him, but love can drown if trust refuses to breathe. Meanwhile, in the living room, Chijioke sat motionless in his wheelchair, not out of paralysis, but out of the crushing weight of guilt. He had seen everything: her ferocious defense, her refusal to give up, her tears, her pain. He didn't need more proof. His heart finally accepted the truth that his doubt had tried to bury. Amara truly loved him. Not for wealth, not for status, not for show, simply him. And now, he was losing her because he failed to believe it. He inhaled deeply, fear fighting his decision, but love insisting it was time. He could no longer watch her suffer for a lie. When Amara stepped out from the bathroom, she found Chijioke in the hallway, struggling with the wheels of his chair. "What are you doing?" she gasped, rushing toward him. I need to talk to you, he said, voice trembling. She hesitated, still wounded, still guarded, but she walked beside him and sat on the couch, wiping her face. He looked at her, really looked, at the woman who had sacrificed everything. The words trembled out. Amara, I have something to confess. Her breath caught in her throat. He continued. This accident, it was staged. The world stopped moving. Amara blinked slowly, like she was trying to wake up from a nightmare she didn't realize she was trapped in. What did you say? Her voice was dangerously calm. It wasn't real, he murmured. I pretended to be paralyzed. Her heartbeat pounded like drums against her ribs. You pretended, she repeated, disbelief choking the words. Yes, he whispered, forcing out the admission like poison. I wanted to see if you truly loved me. I thought, if I lost everything, then I would know if you'd stay. Silence, the most painful kind. Then, Amara stood up slowly, trembling from head to toe. Her tears didn't fall. Her face didn't crack. Stillness, the kind that comes before a storm. She stepped backward, eyes fixed on him like she didn't recognize the man she married. So you made me believe you were suffering. Her voice shook. You watched me fall apart. She placed a hand over her heart, steadying herself. You saw me cry every night, and you still continued the lie? He reached out, trying to hold her hand, but she stepped away. Amara, please. No, she whispered sharply. You tested my love, but you forgot love can bleed. Her voice fractured as the dam finally burst. I defended you. I gave up my life for you. I lost myself to care for you, she cried. And the whole time, you were watching me like an experiment. He bowed his head, tears falling freely. I was scared, he choked out. Everyone I've loved has left me. I couldn't bear the thought that you might too. Her pain swallowed any sympathy. Trust is not built by breaking the person who loves you, she whispered. She backed away further. I have nothing left to give you now, Chijioke. Her voice cracked. You took the very love you wanted to protect and crushed it with your hands. She walked to the bedroom, pulled out a small suitcase, and began packing silently, every folded dress a goodbye, every tear a wound carved by betrayal. Chijioke wheeled desperately toward her. Please, don't leave me, he begged. I need you. She paused at the doorway, eyes shimmering with heartbreak. You should have trusted me when you had me, she whispered. Because now, I don't even know who you are. She stepped outside. The door closed softly, yet the sound thundered in his chest like an explosion. Chijioke sat alone in the empty hallway, breathing like a man drowning in air. The lie that was supposed to save him had finally taken everything he loved. lifting him. The hospital room felt different this time. Heavier, colder, crueler. Machines beeped urgently around Chijioke, who lay unconscious, bandaged, and bloodied. His breathing shallow, his face pale. For the first time since the lie began, he truly could not move his legs. Life had written the punishment his guilt had prayed for. Amara burst into the hospital moments later, hair soaked from rain, slippers slapping against the tile floor as she ran. Emmanuel had called her crying, voice shaking. Olga had a real accident. Please, hurry. Her heart felt like it was being shredded with every step toward room 207. When she finally reached the door, she froze, terrified to see what her anger had helped create. She inhaled, opened the door, and there he was. The man she loved. The man who lied. The man she couldn't stop loving even when broken. She dropped to her knees at his bedside. Chijioke, she whispered, voice trembling violently. Please don't leave me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Tears soaked her face as she kissed his hand again and again. I shouldn't have walked away, she cried. I was hurt, but I should have stayed. Please, come back to me. Her tears fell onto his skin, and he moved just barely. His eyelids fluttered open. Amara, he whispered, struggling for air. She gasped, cupping his face. I'm here, she sobbed. I'm here. I will never leave you again. His eyes filled with tears. I deserve this, he rasped. I broke you. I destroyed your trust. I hurt the only person who ever loved me. Amara pressed a finger gently to his lips. No, she whispered, shaking her head. You were scared. Fear makes fools of all of us, but love teaches us how to heal. Her voice softened with grace, and God sometimes lets us fall, so we learn how to stand again, not with our legs, but with our hearts. Days passed, and Amara remained there. Every sunrise found her holding his hand. Every sunset heard her praying for strength. Doctors confirmed the truth. The new injury had caused real paralysis. He might walk again someday, or he might not. But Amara did not flinch. If he can't walk, she said, then I will walk for both of us. If he can't run, then I will run with our dreams in my hands. Her love became the therapy that medicine could not prescribe. One afternoon, she wheeled him outside to the hospital garden, where gentle sunlight filtered through palm leaves. Birds sang, a breeze danced, and peace finally approached them again. Amara, he whispered, how can you still love me after everything? She knelt beside him, eyes glistening with truth. Because you broke me, not with hatred, but with fear, and fear can be healed. She took his hands, placed them over her heart. This love is not perfect, but it is real, and real love forgives. Chijioke's tears spilled, not from pain, but from the weight of grace. I promise you, he choked out, I will spend the rest of my life earning your trust back. She smiled through tears, soft, tender, hopeful. You don't have to earn what already belongs to you. She leaned forward, pressed her forehead to his. For the first time in months, the world felt like it was beginning again. Weeks later, with painful effort and Amara's constant support, Chijioke moved his foot. Barely. Just a twitch. Amara screamed with joy, startling the nurse. He laughed, the first pure laugh since the nightmare began. They held each other, crying and smiling at the same time. Hope had returned. slow, fragile, but real, and so their story closes not with perfection, but with progress, not with the ease of luxury, but with the strength of love, not with a man who needs proof, but with a man who finally believes. Narrator's final reflection. Sometimes love must be tested, not by lies and fear, but by storms strong enough to reveal what will never break. If you know that love deserves a second chance, type love wins in the comments.